Hello, everyone. I'm Annie Gibbins, and you're listening to Memoirs of Successful Women, the podcast where you get to hear candid conversations with fascinating women from around the globe who share aspects of their business and life journey, how they measure their success, and what they have learnt along the way. Well, hello, everybody. Today on Memoirs of Successful Women, I am delighted to interview Ama Brew, who is a published author, a keynote speaker, and a life balance strategist and empowerment coach. But she hasn't always been so. She's had years in HR and childcare, and we're going to find a little bit about her journey today and what led her to be, in her own right, a very successful woman, empowering others these days. So, welcome to the program, Ama.
Thanks so much for having me, Annie. It's a pleasure.
So, tell me about your business now. What do you do as a life balance strategist?
Awesome. So, as you already mentioned, I am a life balance strategist and I'm coming from a human resource background. But currently, what I do is that I help women and mostly overwhelmed women eliminate stress and burnout from their lives so they can make time for self care. And then that way they can be strong and empowered to go after their dreams. Because usually, when we are under stress and burnout, we have a lot of hindrances in terms of we feel overwhelmed, we can't think straight, we can't set the right goals. We feel like life is caving in on us. So when we are able to let go of that stress and the burnout, then we get the clarity to actually think about life, make the right goals, and move forward in life. So basically, that's what I'm doing with my company called Empowered for Balance. And I'm also empowering women to love themselves more, to value themselves, and to develop balanced self-esteem where they can realize that they are not perfect, but they're still valuable, even though they have their imperfections. And with that kind of mindset, every woman can move forward in life. So
Mm.
that's just a little bit about me.
Let's unpack a little bit about then what drove you to this passion to be able to help people beat this overwhelm. Many people who go into this kind of career will have suffered a lot of overwhelm themselves. Am I right to say that?
You're right. So, I wanted, my dream was to become that six-figure earning human resource guru in a Fortune 500 company, calling all the shots, and all that. And so I started out with a first degree in psychology, and then I got the master's in organizational leadership with a
Mm,
specialization in human resource management. And that's what I wanted to do. I tried pursuing it, but it became realistic to me that that wasn't possible because I'm a mom of twins and my twins were born as preemies, so they were very frail and
mm,
I needed to give them a lot of attention so they could thrive.
mm,
And so it was affecting a lot, my productivity. I would go to work late, not because I wanted to, but it was hard combining, my kids. And apart from having twins, I also have a daughter and I have three kids who are under 6 years. So you
mm.
can imagine.
I can
So it was
imagine.
it was so hard. So, I finally walked out of my work one day. I told myself, hey, I gave my 2 weeks notice and I was like, no, I can't do this anymore. It's just not working. And I thought that, getting out of the corporate world was gonna help me get rid of the overwhelm.
Mm,
But reality hit me after I had started my first business, which was my childcare business. Because when I quit my job, the first thing that came to mind was to start a daycare business. I have a huge basement. So I started it out of my basement. I employed people to work with me to help me, grow it. And it was working. The money was good, because in America, when you own a daycare or a childcare business, it's good money because everybody wants somewhere to take their kids,
yes.
you know. So the demand was high. I had a wait list and everything. But then I started going through the same cycles of stress and burnout. And it was even harder this time. And that is even when I realized that, ooh, something must be wrong because this stress and burnout wasn't only from the corporate world, but it must have been something I was doing wrong
Mm,
personally. So that's when I started digging. I went on my own journey to wellness. And then that's why I decided to start sharing it to other women out there who are going through the same things I have been through, trying to spinning multiple plates, having different responsibilities, trying to be the best at everything that they do, and just going through these cycles of stress and burnout and feeling overwhelmed and feeling like they failed just because they can't seem to handle all the things that they have to handle. So it is my own personal journey, and I was pushed to do this because I went through it. I saw the reality of it, and I thought that, hey, other women need this and need to get the information because I nobody ever told me, self-care and stress and burnout wasn't part of my vocabulary. So I was very ignorant of it, until I got my aha moment and I started researching about it for my own personal gain.
Yeah, which is
Yeah.
amazing, isn't it? And I've been on that same sort of journey. That's right. No one ever mentioned self-care or that you could get overwhelmed. You're supposed to just do everything, right? And as a
Yep.
fellow mum of twins, it's like, oh my gosh, like seriously, there's a lot to do and still be able to pretending to be amazing and perfect all the time.
Exactly.
And so it's such
Exactly.
a weird world, and both of us are driven in that way to actually see the real story and the real requirements of just doing life and doing it well and doing it
Yeah.
balanced and doing it passionately, and to be able to realize what you value, that you do value your kids, and that's it. When your baby twins are preemie and you're going through, this is like life and death sort of situation, and
Yep.
heart is just leaping out of your chest. It's like, sorry, I might have to be late to work.
Exactly.
And then I find it amazing that you then have to apologize about that.
Yeah.
Oh, so that's an incredible reality of what has gone wrong with the world. Um,
Yeah.
so I think that's amazing. Let's stay in the childcare business then for a while. So I love the thought processes there. So you've left, you're highly qualified. You've got degrees in psychology and organizational leadership. You've been an excellent worker professionally in HR, and that the whole context of that, while having then baby twins, is just so overwhelming. You're like, okay,
Mm.
I've got a brilliant idea. I've got 3 kids, including twins. I could open a daycare and
Yep.
work with me. So I love the thinking on that. Obviously, you've still got to run that business, and that hasn't been one of your problems of the skills of running it and promoting it and becoming successful in that. So you've obviously got a very high skill set. But let's talk about then the reality, that aha moment when you then went and said, okay, well now everything on paper is successful. You know, I've got a waiting list. I've got
Mm.
staff. Everyone's coming, and that feeling of overwhelm. So unpack that for those who are listening who might not realize that they're suffering overwhelm. How did it feel? How did you feel at the end of every day?
So one thing that I realized was that, there's one thing having a successful business that's fetching you money, and there's another thing having a business that fetches you money and makes you fulfilled.
Mm,
And that was where my overwhelm was coming from. Because of course, the money was good. I had people one begging me to take their kids, and all that, and the money was good. But the reality was that I wasn't happy inside.
mm,
And I wasn't happy inside in the sense that that wasn't my dream. That wasn't what I really wanted. And the kid, it wasn't, I believe that everybody has that one thing that fills them up, that even if they don't have to get paid to do it, they'll still do it anyways
yeah.
because they get fulfillment from doing it. And the daycare wasn't given that to me.
Mm,
So even when I decided to go into coaching, I was happy to just hand the whole daycare business to a manager to take care of it. So I have nothing to do with it, but then
mm,
I can enjoy the money that comes from it
sure.
whilst I pursue my dream and my vision. And I felt like, the coaching would give me more fulfillment because that's what I'm passionate about.
Mm,
So my overwhelm and my I'll say burnout was coming from the fact that doing the whole daycare thing and trying to manage that daycare, which everybody thought was successful because the people close to me were like, "Are you crazy? This is like a money making machine for you. So why are you running away from it?" But the reality was that deep within me, it was draining me
mm,
because I wasn't getting any fulfillment from it.
yeah.
And until I got the aha moment, I thought that I would never be able to use my degrees and my skill set to do something that I like. Because the reason why I like HR is the human development part of it. That's
Mm,
my favorite part of HR. I don't really like the paperwork and the liability and all that stuff. I like the part about recruiting people, seeing potential in people, recruiting them, training them to do the job. And then I feel like, oh, okay, I took this person from here. I was able to develop this person and get this person to do this job. And I feel like I've impacted that person.
mm,
So that's the part of HR that I liked. And that's where I got my fulfillment from in HR. And I thought that, my mind, I had this limiting belief that was telling me that until I go back to the corporate world, I will never be able to do this anymore.
yes.
So it took that aha moment for me to realize that I could still get that fulfillment and still make an impact in the lives of people by doing it by myself, and opening my own thing. So I would say that my overwhelm was coming from the fact that I wasn't getting that inner fulfillment from the
Mm,
daycare.
mm,
Yeah.
yeah. And I can feel that. That's right. And that's what I notice in my coaching with women that, it's that, yeah, I'm busy, I'm very busy. And even I am getting an income and I'm contributing and, all these factors are there. And that's important that they are, there. But they're
Mhm.
ultimately go, but are you in the right spot? Are you
Yeah.
positioned in that right? It's like a
Yeah.
little flower. Is it, are you just trying to you're spending all this energy, but you're not planted in the right spot, right? So you're just
Yep. Yep.
everything to try and make yourself sort of better, but you're not actually positioned, where you should be. And then that's right.
Mhm.
Finding that, it's not just, oh, well, I'll do something, do a change. And sometimes people's hobbies are very different to then what they could then make into a career. There's a big
Yeah.
divide there. And so for you to actually realize, hello, I am actually highly qualified. I do have this passion for training. I do have this
Mhm.
skill set. And in your mind previously, well, I can only do that in a certain sector. And then through the journey, you then realize, hello,
Yeah.
I actually am a good businesswoman. I am passionate about
Mhm.
this. And now I can do what I love, as well as, and I love that, have the other revenue source, as
Yep.
security, and as we all should have, be looking for multiple revenue sources just to mix it up and to have other opportunities. So I love that totally, and I totally relate to that when people say to you, "You're crazy."
Yeah.
Like, are you
Yep.
mental? You've got it all. And that's that limited mindset, isn't it? It's just
Yeah.
like, in their view, you have it all. And you go, well, do
Yep.
I? Do I really? Maybe I do
Mhm.
in a certain sector, but if you have that sort of, that personal belief of, but there's always more for everybody, and steering yourself in that right
Yep.
direction. So, so talk
Yep.
me through now the journey of starting up your business. What changes did that involve? You learning about yourself or putting
Mm.
into place? How was it different to the corporate sector?
For me, it was a big challenge. It was a big challenge in the sense that you starting a whole business, doing something that I've never done before, and with this line of business, you have to put yourself out there. You have to put yourself on social media, put yourself all over the place, make a lot of noise in terms of, give your expertise, make people see that you exist. And it was a big change for me because I'm a very private person,
Mm,
so for me, it's been a journey. It's been a journey in the sense of, first of all, there were times when I thought, ooh, can I really do this? Is this really going to be viable? And can this actually end up becoming a money making machine for me too? Or is it just going to be an expensive hobby, like you
mm,
had mentioned, But I would say that one thing that has made it easy for me was getting training and investing in myself.
mm,
That has been the biggest, I'll say the best thing I've done for myself in this career. Because as soon as I decided I wanted to, finally, because I the truth is that I've been coaching anyways. Even with my human resource, career, I did a bit of coaching. But
yeah.
the day I told myself I wanted to call myself a coach and become a professional coach and switch from being a human resource person into a coach, I enrolled in a school. I
Right.
enrolled in a coach training school and I went in for the best. I told myself I want an ICF credential
Mm.
because the International Coach Federation is known worldwide as one of the best, credentials you could get. So I enrolled in an ICF accredited program. I paid for a coach to help me set up my business online, to set up a website, do all those things. And that made it easier for me,
Yeah.
because I had somebody to walk me through the process. Because I don't think I would have made the progress I have made so fast if I had tried to do everything by myself. I would be stuck somewhere by now. So,
Mm.
investing in coaching for my own self and in training has been the best thing that has made it really easy for me. And yes, of course, in the beginning it was hard also because again, family and loved ones, some people were like, I didn't get the support I was expecting, in the
Yeah.
beginning. So there were days when I'll doubt myself and I'm like, oh, did I really make the right decision to do this?
Oh,
Or, should I just forget about this whole thing and just, go back to my daycare and try to, because the goal was that if this doesn't work, I would try to open a really big daycare, which will end up becoming like a school. And then
right.
that way I can just employ people and just be the CEO of the school and just do the business side of things.
Mm.
But I would say that having coaches to work with me has been the best investment I have made, and it has made the journey a lot easier for me.
Yeah. I think
Yep.
that's really great insight and also advice for those who are listening to this program. And obviously we're both big fans of coaching, but that view of investing in yourself by or reaching out to someone who's done it before you, that you can do it with them, you can learn from them, but you can also hand over that level of expertise. There's so
Mhm.
many aspects whenever you change your business slightly that you just don't know. And so you can learn how to do all of those tasks. We can learn anything, but it is very time consuming and draining, and it can add to that
Mhm.
overwhelm because there's so many things on the list. And so
Yep.
you reach out to someone, and that's right, something like website development, and then you think you're getting the website made, but then you've got, that's only someone designing what you want, and then it doesn't actually mean it's branded to you, and then there's other aspects, and then there's obviously
Mhm.
all of your social, and how do you actually
Yep.
paid. And once you start unpacking it, you go, whoa, there are so many aspects, and they're all areas of expertise in their own right, right?
Yep.
And the
Yep.
journey that I'll find many people that I'll be coaching are in that overwhelm because they're still trying to do everything themselves, and they don't have that expertise. They don't even know what they don't know. And it's very
Yep.
frustrating, right? And sort of like, I want
Yeah.
to other people. So it is a weird mind shift to actually go, okay, well, I have to invest further when everyone else is telling you you've wasted money on your hobby, to then
Mhm.
go, I'm now sinking more money into someone else who's telling me, but if I do this, I'll then make more money. And so that doubt that you mentioned before is very common. Very
Yeah.
common of, am I mental? How much do I sink into this hobby, which is obviously my whole new business? And that's such an important decision. So I agree with you. It's the right coach for you. It's looking
Yeah.
around and going, okay, well, what expertise does this person do? What's the evidence of that? What qualifications and training do they have? And also, then, do
Mhm.
you actually just connect with them? Because if
Yep.
they're
Yep.
they're holding your hand and they're showing you the way, and you kind of go, yeah, but if I don't resonate with that person, that
Oh, yes.
instantly be a
Mhm.
problem, right?
Yep.
So I can relate to that feeling of nervousness and boldness to step out into getting yourself a coach, and the results for you have been absolutely fantastic, well worth the investment. You would say
Yeah.
now.
Yeah. Yeah. Yep.
So, what did you think setting up a business like that? So, you're going from corporate where your infrastructure's all there, and a childcare has got some of that, but it's sort of obviously different to training. What were the biggest challenges for you to learn, even with a coach in this new business?
Yeah, so I would say that one of my biggest challenges was marketing and social media. First of all, I'm not really a social media person and I'm not a marketing person. Give me 200 people to talk in front of and I can do it. Give me 1,000 people to train and I can do it because that's my forte. But anything marketing is not my thing. So that has been one of the biggest challenges that I faced in the beginning. And I would say that it is one of my biggest challenges. But like you mentioned, the fact that we want to have a coaching business doesn't mean we have to do everything in our business.
Mm.
So I have learned outsourcing and delegating. And that's a lot of the things I also do with the women that I work with, especially the women who own small businesses and are solopreneurs, that, you may not be able to employ somebody full time to do the part of your business that's hard, but you can actually outsource it or you can better trade. You
Mm.
know, where you can, team up with a couple of other women who have different expertise, and then that okay, this is my marketing person, this is my graphic person, and if the person needs somebody to do a presentation, I can do it because that's my forte. And then
Yes,
that way you all help each other, and that way you're not dishing out a lot of money because when you're starting, you may not have a lot of money to give. But when you
exactly.
do that butter trading, that really, really works. And these are some of the things that I have implemented that have made, this whole journey a lot easier for me. Times when I have to pay, I look for the most affordable option out there. I shop around and I see, okay, this is affordable. I can do this. And then I take the plunge and outsource it. When it came to my marketing, I told myself I can't pay a big company to do marketing for me, but I'm going to look for a woman out there who is also into marketing, who is just starting out. And then
Yes.
we can, strike a deal together. And I did find somebody, and it's working. So for me, I would say that marketing was the biggest challenge, but realizing that I cannot do it all because sometimes the superwoman in me, rears its head and I try to do everything by myself. But I always have to pause myself and tell myself, hey, I can't do it all. The part that I'm struggling with, I'm happy to, outsource it and let somebody else do it. That way I can do the parts that I enjoy doing. If not, then the thing that's supposed to be fun ends up becoming something that also drains you.
Exactly.
So,
Then there's that repeat, doesn't it? And that is the
exactly. Yep.
interesting thing, that if you did this journey, now obviously that hasn't happened to you because you haven't then had that repeat cycle of overwhelm and dissatisfaction. You actually do love what you're doing, but you obviously have learnt new skills along the way of picking up, having a self awareness of when that
Yeah.
overload, because it will happen in any area, any business, even if you do love it, you can then
Hmm.
suddenly become too busy trying to do too many things. So, has that been a big learning curve to actually tap into your inner self to become more aware of when that is happening?
Yes, yes. I would say that, the journey from the corporate world to the daycare and the childcare business and now to the coaching business has really made me more self-aware of myself. Because again, I always say that I have walked in the path of a woman with the superwoman syndrome because I always feel I can do everything and I always try to prove myself, so with time I've come to realize that that is one thing that causes a lot of stress and overwhelm for me.
Mm.
So now at this point in my life, I'm more self-aware. So for example, my book launched last week and I was doing everything and, doing a lot of interviews and everything. So by yesterday, I realized that nope, I need to pause because I'm beginning to feel stressed out. Even though I enjoy what I'm doing,
Yeah.
it's becoming stressful for me. So I had to go over my calendar and reschedule a lot of my interviews for next week because I told myself that I don't think I have the bandwidth to go any longer from next week. I need at least 1 week off to take it easy before I actually start doing these interviews again. So,
Mm.
that self awareness is one thing that I will say that now that I have walked that journey of the stress, the burnout, and I've come to realize, that these things do exist and I need to consciously work on them.
Mm.
I always, kind of like pace myself. Every morning I ask myself, how am I doing? What do I have on my schedule? Is there something I would want to move around or delegate so that I don't feel too stressed out? Because we don't want to forget that I'm still doing this with my 3 kids.
Exactly.
you know, I'm still doing it with my 3 kids and my husband and all other things that I'm trying to do, maintain a home and all that. So if you don't take care, what happens is that you will be enjoying it. And if for me, for example, like this whole coaching thing makes me happy, it fills me up. So sometimes I forget that in as much as it's filling me up, it could also cause that overwhelm and stress if I overdo it, you
Yeah.
know? So being conscious of it is very helpful because it allows me to pace myself and, just take it one day at a time and not try to do everything together.
Yeah, I think that's one of the biggest learning curves. That's it, because it's not just the business; it's all those other aspects of your life that are still motoring along. That's right, your kids' needs, your family needs, your husband's needs, other things. And so, to actually, yeah, I think that's a brilliant pattern of behavior, a daily task to actually, yeah, center yourself at the beginning of the day and ask yourself, how am I going? Am I stressed? Am I calm? Have I got space? Have I got time to continue to develop myself? Have I got time? Am I comfortable? In all the areas that I'm doing, or the areas that I should be outsourcing or bartering. That bartering technique is really great, and I've done that myself. And that's it, because
Yeah,
it's a win-win, isn't it? Like, while
exactly.
you shared before that, you can talk in front of 1,000 people. For someone else, that's terrifying, so you can,
Yep.
whereas that's right, whereas the marketing and even making yourself the brand, even though you love what you're doing, it's kind of like some things it's like, "Oh, it's just not my area," whereas someone else delights in,
Yep.
doing all of that for you. So it's getting those synergies of where, yeah, who can I combine with, and we both add value. That is just golden when you can do that. And also
Yeah.
that reflection on yourself, to be able to get up every day and go, yeah, when do I need a break? And with that requires a couple of things kick in. It's permission to do that you are worth that. There's a lot of self worth there, of, permission to
Mhm.
reflect, how am I going? Am I at my best? Do I have capacity? And then also, as well as permission, it's also accepting that there could be a cost to that. The
Yeah.
cost of, okay, well, you've just put a book out. And so therefore, well, what if all of those meetings were there for a reason,
Yep.
and then, so the
Yep.
choice to actually go, I could can them because I need a little bit of extra time. Or I could not do certain tasks because I actually need to have a sleep, or I need to have some time with my family, or I actually just need to read a book, or whatever it is. That's when you actually notice, am I really walking my truth? Because,
Yeah.
it's very easy to go, oh, yes, well, I'll make choices and I'll outsource if I have money and I'll do these things. It's often, and the next level up, I find, when you're actually happy to go, no, I'm going to make a decision that's right for me, that will
Yeah.
cost. There's always a consequence of an action,
Mhm.
right? And have you
Mhm.
struggled over that? Because you want to do everything, right? You're a high
Yep.
energy person. Yeah.
Yep. And one thing I've come to realize is that a lot of times, if you're a high achiever like I am, what happens is that you may want to neglect your well-being just so you can achieve all the other things that you're trying to achieve. And that's where self-value comes in because, we forget that our well-being is more important than all the things that we're trying to achieve. Because if we're able to get all these things and we are not healthy, how are you even going to enjoy it?
Exactly.
Because exactly. So I'll say that's one of the biggest lessons that I have learned along my journey in realizing that yes, I'm trying to be the best mom, I'm trying to be the best coach, I'm trying to be the best writer, I'm trying to be the best business owner, the best wife, the best everything. But at the end of the day, I need to be my best self first
Mm,
before I can even be the best to anything else or to anybody else.
mhm,
Because when we are not well, or when we are stressed out and we are burnt out and we feel overwhelmed, we can't really give our best out to everything else that we are
mm.
doing. Then you start trying to, you start yelling at the kids and you're so frustrated and,
Yeah.
you're frazzled and it's like you're all over the place. But when we spend that time to actually make a decision based on our well being, then we can say that, okay, I am prioritizing. I'm going to make sure that I'm getting what I need so I feel healthy and I don't feel tired.
Yeah.
Because by the time you're able to, I'll give an example. Like yesterday, I had a meeting at 7:30 and I canceled the meeting and I went straight to bed. I woke up this morning and I was feeling strong, ready to go because what? I canceled that meeting for my well-being.
Mm.
So even though I rescheduled the meeting to next week, at the end of the day, it was for the better, because if I had done that meeting, I would have not had the length of sleep that I got. And what would have
Yeah.
happened is that it would have eaten into today too,
Yeah,
So I would have
exactly.
woken up today still feeling tired and still feeling, and then it would have just kept going and going. And that's where the cycle of stress, comes in. And that's a lot of the things that I do with my clients. So sometimes just, pausing and taking that break and telling yourself what is going on right now and what is the best decision I need to take right now, which is going to give me the best outcome that I'm looking for. And most of the time, it is just taking that break and making that decision for your wellness.
Mm.
Because when you do that, then you can pause yourself, you can take a break, you can break the cycle of stress and overwhelm, and then you can regroup yourself and refocus yourself.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Hmm.
that's exactly right, and it is a real skill. So those of you who are listening and have kind of went, yeah, I do. I give out, give out, give out, but you just kind of like you've got nothing left. And
Yeah.
so, although you are giving, what will happen is you might be, trying to be superwoman, and you're actually achieving those tasks for other people. But what will happen is a couple of things. One, you will definitely burn out, and you won't be happy.
Yep.
Two, you'll also have inconsistencies in the reflection of who you are. So,
Yeah.
in 1 minute, you're superwoman doing tasks, and the next minute, you're also yelling at those same kids because you're angry that
Yep.
they've made you late for something, right? And that's where they
Yep.
kind of go, wow, mum's really great sometimes, but man, she's really angry too, or that's right, you deliver on a project, but then you're then resentful and you're not happy in that
Yeah.
role. And
Yeah.
so that's what I kind of tap into and go, okay, well, where can I consistently, if I'm actually, in charge here of my own self and being and who I am and what I stand for, how do I consistently do that? And then that's
Yeah.
when you suddenly realize, oh, there are, when I try to be Miss Perfect,
Yeah.
and then, or Miss Multitasker and there for everybody
Mhm.
else, that's when there will be those inconsistencies in many areas of our lives. That's
Yep.
certainly how I find it. I also find, I think of it a bit like shooting a bow and like an arrow. I did some, do some archery or something, and you have to pull back before you then let go, right?
Yeah.
When you get a
Yeah.
really good pullback, it goes really far and really sharp, and you just get accuracy. You get this power, you get all of that, but you do have to spend that time getting it all
Yeah.
loaded and ready. As opposed to, if you just let it go, yes, you're doing a whole lot of little, but it just sort of pops out. You're not at
Yeah.
your full capacity. And so I
Yep.
think that sort of analogy, to when I did it once, I went, that actually had an aha moment for me. I went, that's what it's like when I deliberately choose to. It's almost like a reload. I need to stop. I need to reset, refocus.
Yep.
And then
Yep.
I come out, pow, like I'm so ready, and I'm more excited, more enthusiastic, more energized,
Mhm.
to then
Mhm.
go and put back into the next project that I do. And it
Yep.
is inconvenient for people. It's inconvenient. You'll get pushback because people who are used to you always doing everything for them when they ask, or being available for just sort certain random tasks, they don't like it when you suddenly
Yep.
take time out for
Yep.
yourself. So you
Yep.
will get
Yep.
resistance. They'll be like, who are you? You always.
Exactly.
And you'll go, well, I'm this new empowered woman, right?
Yeah.
So yeah, I think that.
Yep. Yep, and I'm so happy you mentioned that, because every transition that you go through, you would definitely face some form of pushback, either from loved ones, either from the people around you, and even from your own self.
Mm,
Sometimes your own self would wonder, oh, what is happening? But sometimes it's the consistency, being consistent with it and just pushing through. And sometimes maybe it's just new boundaries that you set for yourself. Maybe usually you don't take time off for yourself, and then all of a sudden your whole family is like, oh, she said she's taking a day off, or she's taking an hour off for herself. What's going on here? But if you just listen to the pushback, you're going to stop yourself and you're not going to get the benefits you're looking for. So usually you have to be very consistent about it. Keep doing it and keep explaining the importance of what you're doing, because definitely your loved ones and your family, especially your husband, your kids, definitely need to understand why you've decided to change a few things around so you're all happy. But then you have to consistently do it, because what happens is that what I've seen with my clients is that when they start, especially things around self care and stress and all that, what usually happens is that the first 1 month, they get a lot of pushback. But
Yes.
when they keep doing it, you know what usually happens? They're able to get their family to even start joining
Yeah.
in
They
the
know
new
because they see
routine.
the value, right? All of a sudden
Exactly.
they go from, "I don't know this person, I'm not feeling very comfortable because I'm missing what I used to have." And then they
Yep.
suddenly start seeing how happy you are and how much
Exactly.
how much you're radiating all this other stuff, and they're like going, "Oh, well, I wanna be more with you, right?
Yep.
I wanna
Yep.
be where the party is." Yeah?
Yep, yep. You know, one of my clients, and she was losing it all the time because she was so stressed out. And she's a business owner, has 3 kids, all does all these things. And so when she started with a morning routine. So when she woke up in the morning, usually she just wake up and just go about her business. But now she woke up and she was just spending 15 minutes, and she got a chair. I told her, find your place in the house. So she got just one chair, sat it in the corner somewhere, got a little table there where, she'll put her book, her Bible, she'll do her little 15 minutes of me time. So when she started, her husband was like, "What are you doing here? Why are you sitting here?" Do you know what's happening now? She spoke to me last week and she's like, he started doing it too. So
Wow.
when she wakes up to sit in her little corner, he wakes up and also goes to his little corner, and
Yeah,
that's his little 15 minutes for himself,
yeah.
because he's beginning to see the benefit that she's changing. She's not losing it as much as she used to, and she seems a lot more happier. So you're right. When you push through, people want to know what's going on. There's something different, around you, and they
Mm,
want to be part of it. So we also, consistency is key here. It's
yeah.
very important. Yeah.
Oh. So key, so key. That's right. And when you find things, and also for those listening, try different things. You might try something and the chair is the thing for you, or it might be that you just get up and go for a walk, or do some
Yeah.
yoga, or or read. That's right, read some Bible, or whatever it is. Just
Mhm.
try. Just because you can try things, and then through those trials, you'll find your space. I think
Yeah.
it's when you're leaning in and you're trying different things that are wanting to achieve that result, then it will reveal itself to you.
Yep.
I think another interesting thing too is often people think, oh, if I have this time, I just have to get up and get going and do all these things, right? And they think they won't get things done. Whereas it's really interesting when you observe, successful people who do achieve a lot, they often do have a lot of time that they do intentionally,
Yeah.
and because they've had that time, they then they achieve, more, definitely
Yep.
as much,
Yep.
if not more, and I would say
Yep.
more most of the time. And it's because of that centered, that efficiency, that timeout allows them to get that clarity and simplicity and focus on tasks. And
Mhm.
it also helps them to then remove what I will call the distractors, or the things that
Yep.
are the low priority items that they're wasting a lot of time and energy on, and are actually
Mhm.
taking the value away from the things that are a higher priority. So,
Yep.
so,
Yep.
so I'd love you to tell the listeners all about your book. How can they find your book?
So my book is on Amazon. It's called Self Care Made Easy, and it is a book about self care. Because usually when we hear self care, a lot of us women just shut down, because to us self care is spending money on ourselves and
Mm,
going on that luxurious trip and buying fancy stuff for ourselves, going to the spa, and all these things involve a lot of money. So a lot of women have a misconception about what self care really is. So, with this book, I'm trying to get rid of that misconception, to realize that self care is a very easy thing. It's just a mindset shift,
mm,
and realize that you don't need to spend a lot of money on yourself, because you can still do self care without even spending a dime. You
yeah.
know, so in the book, I'm talking about the drains and fillers type of self care, which has to do with, every activity that you engage in either drains you or fills you up. And most of the things that we engage in as women drains us. So
mm,
how about you identify your fillers, like you mentioned that you need to go on your own discovery and figure out the things that fill you up. So when you identify these fillers, you fix them in your schedule 5 minutes at a time.
mm,
Where you may not necessarily have a day off, but maybe you can do 5 in the morning, 5 in the afternoon, 5 in the evening, and
mm,
that's 15 minutes of self-care. And then you start growing it as your mind starts
mm,
getting used to the routine of actually pausing and taking time for yourself. You start to grow it. So
mm,
I talk about the drains and fillers self-care. I talk about the balanced self-care method, which is engaging in self-care in 5 areas of your life, which is mental, emotional, physical, spiritual, and social.
mm,
Because self care is not in just about our physical being. You need to nurture your spirit. You need to, deal with your emotions properly. You need to have a good support system and a good inner circle of people that you can reach out to, or you can even have a little chat with once in a while, and they fill you up.
yeah,
So I talk about all these types of self cares that you can engage in. And then we talk about the self care wheel, which is you how you can use it consistently to always check where you're at in relation to self-care and
mm,
stress and burnout. I also talk about how to make the commitment, making a decision to live a life of wholeness, and then identifying your why do you want to live a whole life, and why do you think you will succeed.
mm,
Usually with that exercise, you are actually digging deep to see the strengths that you have that will propel you into success on the decision that you've made. And then I also talk about the barriers of self-care, which has to do with learning to say no. Sometimes we just can't say no.
yeah,
Especially you mentioned that when you start something new, you get a pushback, but you need to have those boundaries. So how can you set boundaries? How can you say no? How can you change your self-value mindset so that you can value yourself and not stop placing value on yourself and prioritize it? And how can you even change that mindset of self-care and realize that self-care is not luxury, but it's rather a necessity? And the book is a journal style book.
mm,
So after each chapter, there are journal questions that you have to do to kind of implement whatever you've read in that chapter. So it's more of like a practical book. And this is part of the system that I use with my clients in coaching. So I have it in the ebook format. If you get the ebook, then you have to get a notebook that you're going to do the journaling
oh,
in. But if you get the paperback, then you have everything because there's spaces for you to write in the book. And then I have the audiobook, which is coming out soon. I just got it back and I'm going through it to make sure everything is right. So hopefully by next week we can get the audiobook in, because I know a lot of us women are busy. We can't sit to read. But if we
exactly.
have it playing maybe on our phone or in the car on our way to work or something, we can still listen to it and get the information. So that's what the book is all about. It is just a book about self-care, breaking self-care down, unpacking it and making it easy so that every woman out there can start engaging in self-care and can develop a self-care routine that's sustainable and that's easy to manage and to deal with.
Mm,
Yeah.
fantastic, and I'm a full believer, so those who are listening, go to Amazon and check that out because, yeah, the more and more I do life, the more and more I work with people, the higher priority I have on self-care and just really investing in yourself, because that's the only way to be your best self, and
Yeah.
all of your results in business and life that you're actually wanting to achieve will then flow from you
Yep.
being a happier, healthier, more balanced human being, and
Hmm.
then and removing all of those sort of barriers, as you call them, to that are inhibiting you from your full
Yep.
potential. And that's right. When you think about it in that way, it's like, yeah, that's right. Get rid of them. A lot of that is it's awareness, and then it's changing habits, which is where the coaching comes in. It's just so
Yeah.
important to having someone who is your cheerleader, but also your accountability partner, and go,
Yep.
come on now,
Yep.
let's, because those habits do, like changing any behavior, it requires you to want to do it, but then also being very disciplined, being very
Yep.
committed, and seeing the
Hmm.
value and believing in the that you are worth it, and believing in that the results are possible. I think
Yeah.
there's a lot of area there that comes out through coaching, that people will help you see your worth in that way.
Mhm, mhm.
So I've loved our chat today, Ama. How can people find you? Those who are listening who would like to
So
know.
I do have a website, and it's www.empoweredforbalance.com. And then I have Facebook and Instagram, and it's Empowered for Balance, all one word. I have Pinterest. I love creating those pins. It's kind of like a therapeutic thing for me. So I do a lot of pins, and I have a blog, so it's linked to my Pinterest. And on Pinterest, I'm also Empowered for Balance,
Yeah.
all one word. Yeah.
Fantastic. Well, I think that's very clear, empowered for balance, and that's what we all need to be. And it's been a delight talking to you today. Thank you for what you're doing with women. And I'm so happy to hear your journey that, it's like many of our journeys that, they can take some forks in the road. And, one minute you're getting qualified in one space, and how do you then end up sort of still channeling it into an area that suits you, and this suits you so well, and I'm so glad that you're doing that. You are definitely empowering women over globally, but particularly in your area. And
Yeah.
thank you for being on the show today.
Thank you so much for having me. It's been a great pleasure.
Thanks so much for listening to this episode of Memoirs of Successful Women. You can find me at anniegibbins.com, where you can download my free resources, get connected on social, and check out my online magic transformation program. If you love this show, feel free to subscribe to future episodes, and of course, share it with your friends. I'll see you again soon, and until then, happy podcasting.